Okay, good morning or good afternoon, according to where you're listening from. I am delighted to be moderating this session on entrepreneurship. I was privileged to be part of the final jury, looking at the types of businesses and the wonderful types of ideas that we had to choose from, and we've chosen 5 winners. And incidentally, I'd like to say for the other 7 that we didn't choose, you still had some fantastic ideas. So thank you very much for coming forward and doing as well as you did. So to the 5 winners today, many congratulations to you all, first of all, and thank you for the videos that you've created and that people have seen. I want people today to get to know a little bit more about you, your backgrounds, what drives you, what sort of motivates you, and where you see your businesses going forward. And to the audience, if there are questions that you have that you would like to ask these entrepreneurs, then please do start asking those questions, because I would love for this session to be quite interactive. Okay, so I'm very relaxed on who goes first, but my first question is, what was the inspiration behind each of your businesses? And when you define yourselves, if you could please give a pictorial description first, and no one's allowed to use George Clooney. Over to anyone that would like to go first. Shall we go with you, Manu? Because I can see you first in my screen, sir.
Yeah, sure. Good morning, everyone. My name is Manu. You can see me as while I speak with the specs on and with a black blazer and with a background. I'm sitting in my room, so there's a little bit of background in the room. So that's me. Regarding what we do, we have a company called Cognable. It is a deep tech company where we are developing early childhood developmental delays detection platform based on artificial intelligence technologies, and an intervention platform as well. So how the technology is developed is very basic. We just request parents to download our app, follow the instructions what are said in the app, for example, asking some 7 to 8 questions, and then engaging with a child in a very play-based manner, asking that session to be video recorded, and then submitting it to us remotely through an internet. So especially during COVID times, we have really been able to reach more than 200 families out very, very quickly. Then that video is analyzed by an AI model, which is trained continuously with the data on the features of autism to detect what are the prominent features in the videos. And then it suggests you the outcome on that. We recently received our first outcomes of the clinical trials that are going with the very large 2 hospitals in India, with a very good sensitivity and specificity numbers as well. So that's very encouraging for the complete team to go forward. And in addition, we have an intervention platform that again makes the therapy process for the families very, very affordable, just at 10% of the price, with a personalized program, with a set of instructions, with the complete pedagogy that parents can do at home. And again, the good news was that we recently signed up with a very big hospital chain of India called Fortis Healthcare to take our services digitally to parents, not only in India, but also in the complete Southeast Asia and African market. So that's what we do at Cognable. I'll be happy to answer any additional questions if it comes.
Thank you, Manu. And the other question I have is about inspiration. What inspired you to set the business up?
Yeah, I mean, there are 2 inspirations to be very honest. First one was that I got married to a special educator. So my wife was a child psychologist when we got married, and that was the first chance I started looking at special needs children. I'm a person with deep technology and engineering background, and 5 years later of our marriage, we diagnosed our own son on autism. That was a big change and motivation for us to really look at this sector, in a in a way that we can fill up the gaps and then offer families a very affordable and accessible solution that can fill up the gap. So I think my wife and me both have really worked hard on this. We came back to India in 2017. We were in States, and then we started the company with a lot of motivation. And I must say that in India, when we started this, we really got a good support from government. and the government has been providing us support, grants, and contacts, recognizing our work. So there is a good support from government came into this whole endeavor.
Fantastic. You have two very strong inspirations, your wife and your son, and you see them every day. So that's probably your driving factor. So,
yes, absolutely.
Fantastic. Thank you for that, Manu. Anand, if I can move to you, sir.
Yeah. Good morning or good afternoon, everyone. My name is Anand Kutre. I'm sorry, my voice is not well today. I'm having a bit of cold. So I hope I'm quite clear. What we are doing is focusing on devices, assistive tech devices, mainly from mobility perspective. That's our core aim. Our background mainly started as a company where we want to do innovation in India. And I worked in the automotive industry in the US and came back to India and thought I'll do something here, something new. And we designed the first mechanism to Toyota. They were the first to think something like this in India, and they wanted to bring their well-capped seat to India. And but it was not working out financially for them. So I kind of designed the first mechanism for them, and it was out, and there are several reasons why it didn't do well in the market. This is the point where I thought, I just connected the dots back to my experience in US and Europe, and saw how people were independent, how they were working. I have a couple of colleagues who were completely wheelchair bound. They were working there without much assistance. So I saw that, and then thought, okay, so something like this is missing here. So I kind of invested my own consulting money into the company and redesigned the mechanism. It took me about 4 years. So either due to short of time or or money. But I also wanted to do a very, very good product. We didn't want to compromise on safety. It has to be ease of use. People, and it is designed for people here in the Indian subcontinent or third world countries. That was the main focus. So kind of did that, and we launched the product in 2017. And this is where our whole thought process got changed. We started to provide the mechanism to the users, and we got very good reviews. And the most inspiration part was the stories what we heard back from the customer, and every story was unique. Everything was we started a bit slow because this is something this concept was new, but every story was unique, and the way we helped people was quite good. So that's where we kind of reorganized ourselves from a consulting firm to a completely assistive technology firm. Now we are in a process of designing a lot more such products, which will basically, the focus is to help people to be independent so that they can be a part of mainstream. They can either work with these or do their day-to-day activities, or go out without much problem. That's our main goal.
Fantastic. And could we have a pictorial description of you, sir?
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
Okay.
My name is Anand Kutre. I'm sitting in my house taking this session. I'm wearing a white shirt, white cotton shirt. I wear specs. I have a slight beard, which is turning gray now, and black hair, brown eyes.
Perfect. Thank you very much indeed. I'm going to move over to Honey now, and I always get confused when I use the word Honey because I call my partner Honey, but I'm not going to think about her when I look at you, Honey. So could you please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what inspired you, sir?
Sure, Hardeep. Thank you so much for having me here. So my name is Hani Bakshundani, and I'm a founder of Torchit Electronics Private Limited. We manufacture most innovative and most affordable assistive solution for the visually impaired. So let me give you my facial recognition. So I'm wearing a gray shirt and talking from my conference room in my office. having slightly beard and wearing a spec. So, as our device Sarthi, which is world's most innovative and most affordable assistive device, which helping a visually impaired person to take from one place to another place without any sighted assistant. So this device, which we had developed way back in 2016, and we launched this device in 2017, and today we are happy to share, today we are 50,000 family strong. So we have uplifted and empowered 50,000 visually impaired lives in India majorly, and now we are planning to expand our network in Africa and many other countries where we can create an impact. Also, we are now making more innovative and more affordable assistive solutions for hearing impaired and other differently able community as well. So, like many of us wear specs for the vision correction. So we think a torch aid. So if they get a proper assistant, a proper technological support, so they can live their life more dignity and more uplifted. So I started Torchit because I did my internship in 2016 at Blind People Association. And during my internship, I saw personally a couple of accidents that think through like why being an engineer can create some solution which help them to avoid a little of accidents. Because of those little accidents, those blind people got very less confidence to move around. So they think, and their thinking will depend, create a practice to them to depend on the sighted person. So that problem which we identified and we solved through the Sarthi. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you, Honey. That's brilliant. And I love your product. I've seen it too. So through the video. Jay, can we move to you, sir?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for that, Hadi. Good afternoon, all. My name is Jayasudan Munsami. Just to describe myself, I'm 5 feet 6 inches in height. I'm dark in color. I have dark brown eyes, dark mustache, and a goatee beard, black hair, though there are a lot of gray hair these days, long and sharp nose, and I wear a specs, and right now I'm wearing a black shirt. I'm the founder of Deepvisiontech. At Deepvisiontech, we are building the world's first app to enable two-way communication with deaf, speech, and hearing impaired people. And it's called as Let's Talk Sign. So the app interprets sign language to speech and text, and also speech and text to sign language. And that's how it enables two-way communication with the deaf, speech, and hearing impaired people. Now coming to the inspiration for me, in early 2018, I took a career break from my IT profession and was learning new technologies. I wanted to do a useful project to get experience with the technology. That's when I got the idea to build a mobile app that will interpret sign language. So I built a simple app that can interpret finger spelling, which means you need to spell every word in sign language for the app to understand the word and then build sentence using them. For example, if you have to say hello, you have to say H-E-L-L-O, right? And the app understands that word and then interprets that to text. As you can guess, the app was not that useful, but it got me thinking. I really got curious to know if there are similar solutions in the market to help deaf, speech, and hearing impaired people to communicate. But to my surprise, I did not find any solution except a few audio transcription-based applications and also a few expensive and experimental solutions using special cameras and gloves and few other equipment. And none of these enabled two-way communication. And that's when I decided to build a solution that's not only easy to use, affordable, but also enables to use sign language to do the two-way communication. And since then, the journey has been really exciting, and we have been getting quite a bit of support from the deaf community, the NGOs, and the other ecosystem players. And yeah, that's about it, Adi.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for that, Jay. And Shrikresh, sir, can we hear from you?
Sure. Thanks, Hardeep. Hello, everyone. Let me just describe myself first. Wearing a sport coat, cream color sport coat, dark shirt, wearing specs, silver hair, wavy. As Jay said, looks pretty much similar to Dr. Kalam. So that's the app description, I guess. We are, I represent Kickstart. Kickstart is the first wheelchair accessible public transportation company in India. And till date, we have provided over 1 lakh rides to any special needs people, senior citizens, people on wheelchairs, anybody who needed special needs service. The inspiration to start this is basically, my co-founder, Vidya, had been working in the disability sector for nearly 3 decades. And typically when in her experience, what she found was that whenever people talk about disability, especially with locomotor disability, the general budgets and things that gets allocated is for building ramps, and that's about it. You build a ramp and you've addressed disability. That's about it. So one of the things that we found was that this is a massive gap. You can build ramps as much as you want, but how do you get people to get to the ramps? So that was a huge issue. And in India, we didn't have, and we still don't have, adequate amount of transportation to address this. So that was the main thing. Basically, out of the learnings that she got from working with people with disability, and also on a personal story, we also had somebody close to our family who suffered from ALS. So it's a combination of things that made us, inspired us to start. And we're proud to have started it, and we're proud to have launched a new product which will also enable a lot of people from the lower economic strata to travel as well.
Fantastic, thank you. So from the point of view of our audience, I hope that's helped to paint a picture of the individuals behind each of the businesses. Actually, funnily enough, I have a couple of questions myself from those. Anand, did I hear you correctly when you said that you designed something for Toyota? Did you say?
Yes. So our first product was for Toyota Corolla, and it was launched as Easy Seat in the 2013 auto show here in India. Fantastic.
That's an amazing achievement. A lot of the time people say things and you just glaze over it, but that's a very big deal. So well done, sir. Okay, my next question for all of you, and this time I'll just let you answer as you feel you'd like to, is in each business journey that everybody goes through, there's a moment which is sort of like, I'm really proud of this. Okay, I'm really proud of this. For each of you, what has that one moment been in your business where you think, wow, I've really got there. I've got something tangible.
Okay, I can go first on this. This is Sri Krish again. This is for Kickstart Cabs. Some of the most fulfilling things that has happened for us has been the individual customer stories. So I'll give you a couple of stories like this. This girl, we just started it, and we started the service in Bangalore, and one day we got a call from this gentleman from Kerala, and he called us, and he said, I am going to move to Bangalore because I've just looked at the service that you guys are offering, and my daughter is disabled, and she is going to choose. She has a choice of going to different places, but given that you guys are offering this particular dignified and safe means of transportation for a wheelchair passenger, she is going to choose a college in Bangalore, in specifically Oxford Pharmacy College, close to where our office is. And when somebody is making a change like this and saying that, it is because of you that I'm choosing a particular college, because I am expecting you to support my daughter to complete her education, that's enormous. That's a great responsibility. We absolutely love it. I mean, the number of people who have called us to thank us, there have been so many numerous calls where elderly people have called us and said, I have had to depend on my family or my friends, and I've always felt that I am pushing them to do something just because I am disabled. Now I have the independence to do a lot of stuff because you guys are providing me that service. So these are the kind of stories that has totally inspired us and made us really, really proud. We are very happy to have provided. We continue to provide that service, and it's exactly these kind of stories that keep us going. The thank you notes, the emails that you get from people to say how much we have helped, how much our drivers have helped, assisted them, assisted their passengers, assisted our customers. That has been really, really something that we are very, very proud of.
That's a fantastic story, by the way. And I think that, with anyone does anything to do with disability and you get testimonials like that, that's really powerful. And Shripresh, do you put those stories on your website? Is there a way that people can see those when they learn more about your company?
Yes. So in the testimonials pages, they can see these stories, and they can see that, different people's comments and, appreciation.
Excellent. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Who would like to go next?
I'll go next, this Jay.
Go for it, Jay.
Cool. To be really honest, I think I've not achieved anything significant so far, and I don't have a bigger story or anything. But there was one moment a few months ago when we were doing user validation of our solution, Let's Talk Sign, with a few deaf users. One of the participants, who's a student, came to me and said, the solution looks like will definitely help me in my studies, right? So that was a real moment for me there. That's when I realized how many people the solution can help when we enable them to communicate in their own mother tongue, so to say, sign language, right? I think that was a great moment for me. And I think we really have a long journey with respect to our solution to make the impact that we think is the achievement for us. Yeah, that's about it.
Do you know, I'm going to, if you don't mind, Jay, I'm going to disagree with you on something. I think you have achieved a lot. You are a winner of the Starable competition, and you're here with us today. And that, my friend, is an achievement. Okay, so I think it's really important that we have to celebrate things that we have achieved, and you've done that. Now, you, like me, feel that we've both got a very, very long way to go, and we're just scratching the surface. And I think many of us feel that way. But we have to recognize that we're all change makers, and we're all trying to do something different. So it's good to pat ourselves on the back every now and again. But I do appreciate your humility and humbleness. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Okay, who's going to go next? Okay, I'll pick Honey.
Yeah. It is a time in 2016 when we started our prototype, and we were testing in a closed environment, like a safe environment, through our mobility product. As we were supported through a government of Gujarat, so there's a global event called Vibrant Gujarat. Many of you might heard. It's a global event. So the government gave some stalls to exhibit our startup in that exhibition, and that was the first time in 2017 January we tested our product on a real ground basis, and there are around tens or 20s of thousands people are walking, and our visually impaired friends like they have given task from Mahatma Mandir Gate 1, where the exhibition is held. So they travel from gate 1 to gate 3, which is roughly around 500 meters. And there are around hundreds of people in between them, and they walk from gate 1 to gate 3 without any single accident. Here, after that, what they give the feedback, it is totally changed my life. And because they cannot see, but they can hear, like there are thousands of people, and without colliding, without bumping into them first time in their life, it is a life-changing moment for them, and it became life-changing moment for me. And within 1 week, I registered my company and I became a full-time employee in my own startup.
Fantastic. That's really, really nice story. That's very special. Thanks for that, Hani.
Thank you.
Manu, how about you, sir?
Yeah, so Hardeep, for us, you will all agree that what we are running a marathon. It's not a 100 meter sprint, but it's a marathon which probably has a long lead time. But yeah, the results are very encouraging. So for us, when we started back on 2018, thinking about autism detection and what's the most natural way to detect children on autism, and we look back what are the gaps, and we see that most of the times the autism features cannot be picked, the pediatricians or school staff are sometimes not trained, so that's how they miss it. And what we thought, that what if we can teach a computer or a AI model to pick up those cues. So most of the people laughed at us at that time, and it was not easy, right? So yeah, but we went on from that. We did our first prototype. The technology component was developed, and then we started up the clinical trials, which were very, very rigid, not rigid, but I will say pretty had a very high standards bar set on us. So Government of India said that you have to do this on a sample size of 1,200 children, which is a huge data set. And then when we were probably like 300 children done with the data set of 300 children, COVID came and everything stopped. That. And I think I really have to go back and appreciate my staff that they still went forward, went on to an online model of data collection, which really, really helped us. And in the end, when we see that some of the numbers that we are getting on our clinical trials, which are really, really encouraging, like 70 to 75% accuracy and sensitivity specificity scores are pretty encouraging for us to go back and celebrate that. The complete team, the research institution partners from hospitals, 2 leading hospitals, IIT Delhi, the complete team has been very motivated to come on the same objective with a clear role definition. And I think in next 6 months, we should be able to give at least back to the population to use a clinically validated product or a platform which probably is rigid and can be adopted and probably detect children very, very early, so that if you can identify a child on a neurodevelopmental delay like autism in the first 2 years, you have a maximum chance to rehabilitate him or her within first 5 years, where the maximum gains happen. So it's like the first results are very encouraging, and I think that's and one thing I need to add more is that when we look at the benchmarking of our company and our competitors, we have a very big competitor in States who got an FDA clearance using the same technology, and they were funded and with a funding of like $50 million, and we probably were funded with 50 lakhs, right? So we kind of achieving that with million to lakhs, and that's what I think is the power of India, youth of India, and the population of India.
That's amazing. That's very nice. It brings it back to something very real. So
yeah.
Well done for that, Manu. Thank you. Yeah. And Anand, I know you're suffering there. I saw you sort of blowing your nose. I hope you're okay. But how about you, sir?
Yeah, for me, the defining moment was, our first customer. I did this product, this design more as a passion, being a mechanical engineer, worked in the automotive industry. So I designed, I took my own time, made sure everything is right, every small detail. And then we got our first customer in Mumbai, and she was a lady below waist paralysis, and she wanted to complete her PhD. So she wanted to go out and see how it, go to the college on daily basis, and she was very tall, basically. So
Okay,
yeah,
fantastic.
almost 6. So I went for the first installation myself. I did the installation, and this was the first product we are also trying to generalize for all cars. And I did the installation. It came out well, but I was not satisfied. So I spoke to her, and then she mentioned about her background, what she wants to do, and then I thought, okay, it's something I have to relook. Then I spent my own money. I didn't charge her anything, and then made adjustments, went back, refitted the product in a much better way. And this is the point, I thought, okay, my first thing was being a technical person. I'll make this product and maybe give it to someone who can, take it to the market. But when I saw this kind of use case, I had to rethink everything. So I again started from ground zero, and then thought, okay, now I did the product. How do I take it to people? That became a bigger challenge. So we started, and then we took customer by customer, one by one, and then every customer had a different feedback. A lady in Coimbatore, she could attend her nephew's marriage. She could do everything she had not planned to do. There is a 90-year-old lady in Kerala. She's a school principal. She's going to school every day now, even at this age. So that's where I thought, okay, I just diverted myself from all other work, and then focusing completely on making more products, making more such changes happen. So yeah, it's mainly from the users.
From the users as well. There's a common thread there with everybody, I think, is that your most rewarding moments have been through users actually feeding back and giving you some great ideas in terms of how your products have helped them.
Right.
So my next question for all of you is, obviously each of you are linked to disability, and your products are for the disabled community. How have you found engaging that disabled community and reaching it and getting them to hear about your products? How has that been easy? Has it been challenging? Can you share some of your journeys in terms of trying to penetrate into that disability market? And I'm just going to go according to my screen. So Shri Kresh, I'll ask you that question first, Sam.
All right. So in our case, just like any other small startup, we didn't do too much marketing or anything like that. We didn't have the money to do any marketing or anything. When we first started, some local newspapers covered it, and then we were just flooded with calls. It was just Vidya and I. We didn't have any staff, just the driver, and we were just flooded with calls. And it was pretty, it was overwhelming, but also very satisfying. So what we did was, we started providing the service, and from then on, it was an organic process. The disabled community is a pretty small community, but is also a very strong community in terms of connections. So the networking within helped us quite a bit. And since we were the first ones in India, there was a lot of newspaper coverage. There was coverage from Indian Express, Hindu, lots of Kannada newspapers, and all of them helped to spread the word. And once a few of our users started using it, then we started getting a lot more of calls, and from that's pretty much how we expanded the service in Bangalore. That said, we are still limited only to Bangalore. We would like to scale, but this has generally been, it's not been very challenging to reach out to the community. I'm part of a few of the WhatsApp groups and such, and the community has helped us help take us forward.
Excellent, thank you. That's good to know. And Manu, how about you, sir?
Yeah, Hardeep, for us, the most important part is a trust that a family need to have, and I think that trust really needs to come up with if we are reaching to that family through a doctor, and I think that's the model we have taken up, and I think with that trust, a parent adopts your product, tries that product, and probably over a period of time that we have seen, that parent starts recommending it to other parents and start getting them into the group. And that's what has been, adoption for us on the intervention product of ours, especially, and also on the diagnostic in the clinical trials, the parents who are referring us continuously now. But yeah, I mean, we started up with like a couple of doctors, which have now reached to 7 clinics. And then with those clinics, they are prescribing us our product more like as a digital pill on a prescription, which is very, we are happy to see that the Cognable app is written like a pill now on the prescriptions. And then when a parent starts on it, the first 2 months we really handhold close to them because it's a new model of technology adoption that somebody has to get used to it. But yeah, I think after 2 months, it's very. We see that from 3rd or 4th month onwards, the parent starts recommending the app to other parents, and then you have across let's say recommendation of our product going on. And I think that's the model we will continue to go on.
Fantastic. That's really, I love that digital pill. I think that's so cool. When I'm doing some of in our incubator program, I often say to people, you need to summarize your business in one sentence. Imagine you're at a networking event and someone says, what do? You need to have something very succinct. And I can just imagine yours being a digital pill for autism. It's amazing, actually. Very nice. Thank you for that. Okay, Honey, how about you, sir, and accessing the market? How have you found it?
Yeah, so we firstly approach to the big organizations who are working with visual impairment, and then we approach their trainers to become our certified trainers. So they do training for our product to their community. So this is how we started, by creating this kind of small micro entrepreneurs who can earn from this kind of training. And now they became our marketing influencer in those areas. Today we have more than 900 this kind of certified trainers who actually are blind and who did training to the other blind fellows.
Now, did you say 900?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
900 across India.
Amazing.
Those are our key stakeholders. That's how we reach to more than 50,000 lives.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
And I think for those that are listening, this is a really important point, because I think when you're an investor, one of the things I always think about is route to market. How are you going to get to that market? And I think when you're in the disability community, you already have that network and it's easier. The word of mouth spread, you use it and other people talk about it. But sometimes when you're not in that disability community and you have to penetrate that community, it's a lot more challenging. So it's good to hear the three of you that have done that. Anand and Jay, how about you?
Sure, Hadi. So in the initial days around early 2019 or so, when I was new to the disability space, and of course, my solution is for the deaf, speech and hearing community, but I did not know sign language, right? And then you can guess how difficult it would have been for me to reach out to the deaf community and talk to them, explain about our solution and stuff like that. And of course, I also didn't understand the culture of that community, right? And of course, that was a big disadvantage or sort of obstacle for me to sort of overcome. So I started learning sign language, started approaching the NGOs, skill training organizations, few schools, and even few interpreters to understand the culture of that community, trying to reach them and also sort of get that collaboration going with that ecosystem partners. So I think since then we have come a long way. Now we have a couple of deaf team members in our team. We have a sign language interpreter who's sort of all of them are helping us to sort of bridge that gap between the deaf community and ourselves and sort of taking the solution to them and getting that overall support from them, right? So it's been a good journey so far from that perspective.
Excellent. Thank you, Jay, for making it a bit real as well. And Anand, how about you, sir?
For me, actually, it was more challenging. Being a technical person, I was never planning to, I didn't look at the market. I was focusing mainly on the use case and the product. So we did the product, and then now we didn't even have a name actually. So one of the person asked me, okay, how do I tell what product to buy? I just came up with the name, just then and there. So it was like always everything was on the fly. And as I started, there was one article which was written in your story. So most of my sales happened only through just that one article.
Oh,
so,
wow. Excellent.
Yeah, people wanted something like that they had seen somewhere, and then they used to search, and that article used to come up, and they used to call me, and then I started to talk to them because everything was new. It is not only selling the product, but the focus also, what I wanted to do was, I didn't want to just hard sell the product. I just wanted to understand the need, clearly explain how they have to adapt to the product, how they can use it. And for some customers, I even told them, okay, don't go for it because it might not be an apt product for you. So that's one philosophy I have always maintained, because for us the user is at the center. So putting all these things and taking product to the market was a big challenge. So now I think we have streamlined the production. We have streamlined the market reach. We have streamlined the installation process, because we go to the doorstep of the customer to install. So even for that, we had to, so for everything, there was a process. We had to build everything on the fly. And so yeah, it was a challenging task, but I think now we have pretty much streamlined, and hopefully to scale from here.
Excellent. Okay, that's brilliant. I'm going to make two comments on everything that everyone said for our listeners. The first thing is, I think that for those of you that are working in the disability community and you may not be disabled, I think it's really, really important to try and have an ambassador or somebody that is a part of your team that relates to the community that your product is in. Okay, so if you're working with someone deaf, someone that's blind, make sure you have those individuals as a part of your team or on the advisory board or in your business. So number one, they can be advising you on what to do. Okay, and number two, they can be advising you on how to get into that market. And a really good example of where this doesn't always happen, and we have a very dear friend called Adam Pearson, who's on our team as well. And one of the things that he often says as an actor, a disabled actor, is it's a shame that a lot of people not pretend, but they act as though they are disabled in TV programs or TV films, even though they're not disabled. Right, so they're assuming they understand what it means to be disabled and playing a role. What should be happening is that the film industry is actually hiring real disabled people to act in those roles, to make it authentic and genuine, and not sort of making it out to be that way. So I think that's a really important point, and we'll hear from Keely Cat Wells tomorrow about this as well. She's a wonderful friend and amazing entrepreneur, and she's very big on making sure people with disabilities are actually getting out there. And the second point that you made is the article. And I think you said about having an article. That's really powerful. Press, media, something in black and white. And I remember our first ever session that we had at Kaleidoscope, we had a BBC journalist there that was blind. And the funny thing was, I didn't know that he was a journalist. And, you know, very shortly afterwards, he wrote an amazing piece for BBC News, which just shot us into literally overnight stardom from the point of view of people knowing and learning about us. Okay, that's really, really helpful, guys. Thank you. So I'm going to ask you a bit more of a challenging question now, because again, we want to know the people behind the business a little bit more. I always say that every entrepreneur has a walk away moment. Okay, a moment where you feel you've had enough, it's just not working. You know, it's easier to go back into the city or whatever your industry has been previously and start earning some regular money rather than becoming an entrepreneur. What has that walk away moment been for you? Okay, and how have you needed to pivot or change your business? Because I think this is another really important point for startups, is that sometimes you need to change your direction. Right, you need to. And I think, you know, when Varaja was asking me earlier about Kaleidoscope and one of my failures, you know, sort of not raising money in that first 3 years, what pivoted the business for me was actually looking into recruitment. As soon as we started looking at how we can set up a recruitment business to employ disabled people, suddenly people began to get interested from an investment point of view. That was a pivot for us. But I can tell you, after 3 years, as much as I love this, that was a very, very, you know, serious moment for me. So for each of you, you know, if you were talking to entrepreneurs out there now that are looking to start their business, you know, what would you say to them about your most difficult moment and what you did to overcome that? And I'll start with, I'm going to go different order now. I'm going to go with Jay to begin with.
Okay, so for me, there were actually a couple of moments I would highlight. I wouldn't say I wanted to back off or anything, but they were really challenging. One was about end of last year when we were finalizing the technical aspects of the solution. So this is internal to us, right? So we are using deep learning and machine learning technology in our solution. And I'm also fairly new to the technology as well. So we were really struggling to get one or two aspects of the solution working. And it went on for almost 2 months. We were struggling to get that technique working. And that was really, really challenging. We had to get some help as well, external help, a bit of help from Google's team as well from a technical point of view. So that was really challenging. I think that moment is definitely there. And the second moment would be the rejections we have faced so far. There are many. So far from an investment point of view, not only VC, but also seed funding or grant or anything at all, right? We get great feedback saying, hey, the solution is good, it will help people, and blah, 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 and all that. But at the end of the day, we don't get that help that we require from a financial aspect of it, right? And we also are sort of upset that we don't get the real feedback, right, as to why we're not getting that help that we require, right? So that's sort of letting us down a bit. But I don't think we will give up so soon. So,
Fantastic.
So those were the moments.
Well, you know what? I think you hit any entrepreneur that's going to listen to this going forward is going to entirely relate to your point about rejection. I mean, to be honest, that's the name of the game as entrepreneurs. We need a thick skin to get through that. So thank you for being so honest and raw about that, Jay. That's brilliant. Honey, how about you, sir?
Yeah, like truly with you, Jay, like as he said, totally rejections. So main thing, we need to be most motivated entire team. So when you being a founder, you being a key employee, if you're not motivated, your whole team and your parents and your society will think what you are doing. If you're not getting success, then just try another job or try another thing.
Yeah.
For me, most difficult moment, being a topper in my university, I was doing, I was making a torch for visually impaired. If my mom used to say to anyone in family, so a torch for a blind, what your son is doing after doing engineering, because I am a first engineer in my family. And so that was a little difficult moment for me. And at the same time, I was getting rejections from the visually impaired community because they like my product, but they don't want to pay money for my product because it's not completed yet. So we developed first prototype. They were very happy. But when we used to go to ask like how much you will pay, so the response was very low. Then we iterated, then we iterated, then we iterated, and we iterated more than 16 times and finalized our product, SARC, which is into the market. It took 2.5 years, more than 30 months to make a finalized. So last 3-4 months before launch of our product, I was totally demotivated, like what I am doing, because I did my fellowship from MIT and I was a topper in my academics as well. And my other fellow, like my other colleagues are doing very good job and they're preparing for the masters. So looking at them, what I'm doing, so that was my very tough time for me. And today also we have, after COVID, little tough time because all funds, the market is totally changed. So now we are making new strategies by God's grace and by blessings of our users. We are surviving. So this is the pain point. Yeah.
Thank you, Hani, for making that very real. And I think, again, for our users, one of the listeners, one of the biggest things there is the length of time that it can take to get something to market. In entrepreneurship is normally years, right? You're not talking about months, it's years. So people have to be ready for that journey. Okay, Shri Krish, how about you, sir?
Sure. If I have to say all those walkaway moments, I think it'll fill the whole day. so many.
Your main one, yeah, absolutely,
yeah.
Right.
So see, the challenge with one of the main challenges with developing a product or providing a service for this particular community is also the fact that historically in India, anything whenever the government deals with people with disability, it's always considered as a charity, right? So give a freebie wheelchair or give some assistive object or something like that. So to make a service or a product that is viable and something that will work as a business is pretty difficult, because the expectation is that for any business run, it's going to take certain costs to run it, and for a service to be provided, it's going to take that much money. But the attitude is not wherein there is no it's very difficult for them to appreciate that, because historically a lot of freebies have also been given. So there is reluctance to pay for the service. So that's been a challenge. So to just motivate them to say that, or to get people to pay for it was one of the challenges. But that was not entirely the walkaway moment for me. But I would say the larger scare thing that we had was, so for example, when we were the first service in Bangalore, and in 2018, Uber also started the service. And when somebody like an Uber comes into the market, you can pretty much rest assured that they're going to give you like freebies like crazy for the drivers to operate and to the consumers, which is a good thing because lots of people are getting benefited by it. But from a small business perspective, it's seriously hammers. And it seriously hammers because we are a company that also wants to do more innovation, and that's the reason why we haven't built a low-cost product right now, because we care deeply about the community. But to compete against somebody like an Uber, which will keep throwing freebies through CSR money or whatever, that was very, very, very difficult. So that scared us quite a bit. But the good thing is it didn't kill us. So we said, okay, we will go with the flow. Let's see what happens. We pivoted a bit. We chose different kinds of B2B services to keep us afloat. And with the revenue that we generated from that, we were able to invest more time into developing a product that is low cost and which is closer to our heart, because as a company we have always wanted to serve people across the board, regardless of their economic situation, right? So that sort of helped us invest a lot more time in this particular product, and that is helped us build this product now, and we are at a position of launching it. So it has pushed us to the corner, all these kind of events, but it has also made us stronger.
Fantastic. I'm gonna, after this session, after Anand and Manu answer, I'm gonna just summarize, because I think some of the tips that you guys are giving to entrepreneurs in this particular section of the question is absolutely invaluable. It's really invaluable. It's fantastic learnings. Anand, how about you, sir?
For me, it was more like the challenge of selling the product. So we started, as I said, I didn't know anything about selling products, so I was totally clueless. I don't know what I'm doing. And then we started, and the motivation factor, as I said, how people used to call us across India. So we have sold our product all across India. So we got good feedback. We got good feedback on the product. People like the product. Because all these days, any modification to a car, people were thinking, okay, you have to take your car to the garage, keep it there for a month, and you don't know what you're going to get. And when we saw the product, and the way in just 2-3 hours we used to install, and the way it used to function, everything was good. But now, how do I take it to many people? So I kind of got lost several times. So I was absolutely clueless. So then I went back, and then let me not focus on selling it to many. Let me do it one by one.
Yeah.
So that's where I kind of took some micro steps, really how strengthen my supply chain, strengthen the process of installation. And earlier when I started to do that, wanted to do it in a very good way, so I used to spend more than what I used to make, basically. So then slowly I started to cut down, or rather streamline the process, so I could optimize the costs. And then now it's very much streamlined. I also got a lot of support from the family and my wife, so that kept me going all the time. And yes,
Okay.
so I think we are pretty much settled.
Good, thank you. And finally, Manu, did you have a sort of a walkaway moment in your business, or a really big obstacle?
Yeah, yes, couple of times it's been there. I think as I said earlier, one of the things that I must stress here is the support of government, which has been enormous in the complete ecosystem in terms of funding and grants as well. So hats off to them. But I think the ecosystem as such, when we go and talk to people, they probably don't find the sector to be very attractive to invest. I think this is a whole problem of the sector, not our company. And I think the whole model has to be positioned where it needs to be incentivized. I think government, as I said, is a big supporter of the work we do, and I think there only the procurement initiatives can be done by the government side, because there is a huge funding that government allocates, especially the Department of Disability Rehabilitation. And I think there the focus should go about inviting startups who can fund technology-based solutions to make it the whole solution more data oriented and affordable and accessible. And I think at the same time, the VCs, I don't know what to say. Maybe I think something from your side, a recommendation can go, but The changing moment for us is that one of my co-founders is American guy, right? And he really found the product that we are developing very interesting. He invested a small amount with us, and is now sees a lot of value to take the product to the US market, where we probably will be going in next 20 days or 25 days. And I think the whole attractiveness of the solution, and I think it's probably more in the Western side. And I think maybe we try to look at the Robinhood kind of a model where we kind of earn money from one market and then kind of do it at cost plus basis in developing markets such as India. But yeah, if you have a VC support, the product that all of us are developing are deep tech products. They involve a time to grow, validate, and I think somebody has to support it during that time.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay, we've got some questions coming through. So this is for anybody now. Is there any support from the Indian government at the moment for startups?
Yes, I can answer that on a very so there are grants available that you can apply. They are very competitive. So you need to put their proposal, which should be very clinically powerful and should have sufficiently hypothesis behind it to stand. And they really encourage if you have a proof of concept with you. So there are some grants that you can look at, BIRAC big grant. BIRAC SBRI grants. So these are typically grants available that you can target. Again, I said they are competitive. So you need to present your best case forward with all the hypothesis assumptions, and if you have some proof of concept. And there are some few competitions there you can compete and you get some money. And Ministry of Electronics has some grants as well. So you can look at those things as an addition as well.
Okay, that's brilliant. Thanks, Manu. Does anyone else have anything else to add to that question? Yes.
Hardeep, I have a couple of points to add.
Go for it, Jay.
As Manu was mentioning, grants are definitely the way to go for the early stage startups who are looking for funding. And of course, there are social investors like yourself, Hardeep, right? They are also helping us out. And I think this definitely is the help that's required for us to start, right? The funding is the main thing to start.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think.
Thank you. And anyone else, anything to add, or that sounds like that's covered? Okay, and the next question, and I've got an answer for this question, funny enough, but I'm going to give it to you guys first, is we're really curious to know how each of you feel that you've contributed to the changing perceptions towards people in India, because at the moment, it's this perception issue of people with disabilities feeling sympathetic towards them or judgmental. How do you think we need to work to help to change that?
Okay,
can I go?
Go ahead.
Go for it, honey.
So we always believe the differently able community is asset for the society if they nurture with properly. So as I said initially, like if I'm wearing a glass for my vision correction, without my glasses, without my specs, I cannot see proper what is written on the board or what is written from 3 meters range. So like many of differently able community, they are treated as in bicharas. Bichara, what you mean? Like they are needy people. But if they have get proper assistance, technological assistance, they can be an asset. In Torchit, we are the only first company in the world where electronic product is completely manufactured by the blind.
Amazing.
Yeah, and all marketing and training will done by a blind, and as I said, training is also done by a blind. So this is completely run by a visually impaired community, like for the blind, by the blind, to the blind. So we change the perceptions towards like sighted community, like a visually impaired person can also assemble an electronic product. So this is what we have to change in the society.
Absolutely fantastic idea. and the way that you've done that, Honey. That's superb. Well done. Anybody else would like to give an answer to that question?
Yeah. From the disability perspective, mainly from the physical disability, people in India is to that they used to stay back at home, because there used to be always some kind of shyness, to show their disabilities. The for them to become a part of the mainstream, they have to come out. They have to be part of the social groups, or they should have equal education, at every level. And when they think about these aspects, they don't have much solutions. The perception in India still today is wheelchair and crutches, but beyond that, it is difficult. So if someone wants to go out, go for a tour, how can they travel? There is no special kind of transport. Even in large corporations, people, they say, okay, we are inclusive, we want to hire people with disabilities, but do they have a special transport? No. So this is what we are we are trying to change, because this is also a key aspect or a key step for the inclusion, because they have to be empowered, and so it becomes a complete cycle. They have to be a part of mainstream, they have to be on their own, they have to be empowered, they can contribute. So that is the perception we're trying to change, and it's happening slowly, step by step.
Thank you, Anand. Anyone else have anything to add on that?
Sure. I mean, I'll add another story as well. So one of the things that, I guess the question is like, how have we contributed? So I'll give you a story.
How we continue to change as well. So how we've contributed and how we can continue to change.
Okay, cool. Okay, so I'll give you another story. Okay, this is a gentleman who was, visiting a beach in Goa with his family, and had an accident there and became a spinal cord injury patient. And today he has been one of my longest customers. He used to work at Xerox before, and now in a different company, and we have been providing transportation for him of all these times, right, until COVID hit, right? And one thing that companies have started realizing now is that the contribution made by people with disability to the company in terms of efficiency, work efficiency, in terms of the productivity and such, is phenomenal. Okay, the sooner that the companies realize this, the better it'll be for their bottom line. And I can name companies where I have visited personally, people with a different high level positions who have attested to this. People, if you're able to provide the right kind of environment for these candidates, the likelihood of them sticking with you is very, very high, which means we are reducing your churn of employees, and therefore my retraining costs also come down. I mean, the number of cases that you can make in terms of how it positively affects the company is absolutely brilliant. There is just nothing. It's just clear cut. So more companies need to employ more people with disability, and also they will definitely benefit from an improved bottom line.
Brilliant answer. I think we've had some fantastic answers there, and I want to summarize them. I'm going to start backwards. So Shrikresh, thank you for what you've said. I think we have an employment panel later today or tomorrow, and I think this is going to come up as a very hot topic. I think employing people with disability, especially coming out of COVID, is actually going to be, is already becoming very big. We're talking to a lot of employers in the UK actually about recruiting people with disabilities now for all the reasons that you've just highlighted, Shrikresh. So I think that's a very, very good point. And there are advantages to hiring people with disabilities rather than disadvantages. So I think that's very, very well made point. Honey, I love your point about the supply chain. I think that's really powerful and that's very authentic. So, you know, when an investor is listening to that, I think it's a really good point to make. I think the other point that I was going to add was the point about role models. You know, I think we live in a world today where people want to see success stories, right? Show me something that's worked. And I think the more people that we can get that are people with disabilities in the public eye, in the community, in the press, that can demonstrate that actually we've achieved something financially rewarding. So we've done well in our business, we've impacted a community, we've got a sustainable business. That's what people want to hear, actually. And I think that's what the entrepreneurship community and all of you, if you ask me, have a duty to help us to get that message across, right? Is, you know, to show the success of what you're doing that will help to inspire other people to see and perceive things differently. I think that's a really, really important point. Another question has, oh yeah, this is a really lovely question. How has working with differently abled people changed your lives? Go, Jane.
Right. So this is an incident that happened recently. As I mentioned, I have a deaf person. His name is Anu. He's working as a 3D animator in our team. So I was emphasizing on how important is it for him to bring out the facial expressions and the lip movements of the avatar, the 3D avatar that we are using in our app. And he said, yes, I'll do that. And then after 2 or 3 days, he came back to me and said, I don't know how to do lip movement for the words, right? Simply because he has not spoken out those words, right? So that was a real thing for me, right? So it hit me really then that how challenged they are from that perspective, right? So I think that was a moment I just wanted to share with you on that.
Really, thank you, Jay. And anybody else share a moment?
For me, it is a continuous learning. I've learned quite a bit. One of the the earlier before Kickstart, I also used to be one of the many who would look at it only in the terms of charity. But this has really opened my eyes, and it's don't look at it as something that you're doing on a charity basis. All they need is an equal opportunity and the challenge. They will do exactly as well as any able-bodied person, or even better. So that is something that's been totally eye-opening, and been very humbled very often. So it's been really great to work with the community for me.
Thank you, Shrikresh. Honey, you were going to say something?
Yeah, same as Sri Krishna. Actually, it makes me more humble. Like initially, before I was working with visually impaired community, any other call came from, we are getting lots of calls from the call centers, like you need this or you need this or etc. So after getting to know behind the call, he or she might be a visually impaired and from which settings they are coming. So in 2016, 2017, I analyzed that and I became more softer and more humble to become, to be more humble for them only, but now I became more humble for everyone. So it completely changed my life. And yeah. So
yeah,
because then we get to know what is happen with that person, we don't know.
Yeah.
So we have to go to everyone.
Do you know, I think this is one of the points I made in my earlier interview with Varaja. I think what we have to realize, and we've spoken to many people, that I can't remember the exact percentage, but it's very, very high. A lot of disability is acquired through life. So what's happened to my son at birth is actually very unusual. Okay, what happens in life is that we acquire it at different times. And this thought that it could happen to any of us at any time, and I've seen it around me, is really, is a thought that's it's harrowing. It's kind of a reality that people don't realize. And I think that's something that we always have to remember and take away, in addition to what everyone said, is that it can happen at any moment. And if I had to have a story for me that was a moment that changed my life, if I answered that question, I have an individual that works for me, I should say, and he's blind. So he's not just visually impaired, he has no vision whatsoever. And he was coming to stay at my home. And I took him to the guest bedroom and I said, shall I put the light on for you, please? And he said, well, you can if you want, Hardy, but it's not going to make a difference because I can't see anyway. Right? And in my mind, I thought, how dumb that I said that. I should have thought before I said that. But then you know what I started doing? Like a few days afterwards, I started going into a bedroom and I didn't put the light on. And I thought, wow, this is how his life must be. This is how, I tried to start feeling around and, for me, that was a very defining moment because it made me think, okay, actually, a lot of people with disabilities, what they do so well is they don't show you what they go through in terms of their challenges. And if I had to say in terms of the 1,000 people with disabilities I've met, plus they don't let me know that it takes them 3 hours or 4 hours to get ready every morning. Okay, when I see them in front of my screen, they're ready to talk. They're ready to go. They don't tell me they've had a sleepless night, or their carer didn't come on time and didn't feed them, or they ripped their jumper when they were putting something on when they were sitting in their wheelchair. By the way, these are all real examples, right? It's what they do behind the scenes that we don't realize that is so admirable. And I think that's another thing that people need to recognize as well. Okay, I'm not sure how we're doing on time because we're having a very nice conversation, but I'm going to ask each of you to do something now. This is putting you on the spot. You're all looking for investment in some way, shape, or form, or the opportunity to get to the next level. Okay, I would like you to now look at this session as sort of imagining that there are governments around the world, there are investors around the world, there are companies around the world that are listening to us right now, here today, or even if this is a recorded session. If you were doing a pitch and you were going to summarize your business now, I'd like each of you to do that really succinctly and say what it is that you want and you need for that investor community and the governments and corporations to do to help each of you to get your business to the next level. Okay, so this is actually a short pitch, funnily enough. I want you to do a short pitch, but just imagine all the right people are listening to you right now. You have your dream audience and they're saying, what do you want? What do you need? What do we need to do to get you to the next level? I'd like to ask each of you to do that for me, please, if I may. And I realize this is completely going off script, but, I like to ask these questions because I think it's very important. We've made some fantastic points today. And I think I want people to understand a little bit more one final time about each of your businesses. So I'm going to pick Manu. We'll go with you first, my friend.
Yeah, sure. Hardeep, thank you so much. I think it's really needed. So I wanted, I'm going to start with a typical business pitch by putting a problem statement. Every year globally, 130 million children are born. Now, as per the Indian, US, European, UK Academy of Pediatricians, you need to check a child for his developmental growth between 18 months to 24 months of age. And that is recommended by a pediatric community. With 130 million children born every year, it's humanly not possible how good the infrastructure you have, either from developing countries or developed countries, to track the milestones of children or evaluate if they're growing the way they should. So that's why you need a technology-based solution that can really take care of that vast need and can become more intelligent with more data over a period of time. right? And that's exactly what we are doing at Cognable by giving a clinician eye to a machine to look at the developmental cues and monitor them and suggest if the child may be on a risk, right? And then if you find a child on a risk, you have an affordable solution that you have directly on your mobile phone, a digital pill that you can open, start working with the child, and can at the same time bring a clinician, your school, and yourself all together on a same platform to work in a unified progress and development for the child. I think we need to also look at that COVID-19 is really driving the mental health downwards, and that's how the mobile app is targeted towards getting you to a better well-being, both from a parent perspective and from a child's perspective. So it's an auto progressing platform that provides you a way to make improvement in child skills, which may not be academic, but more functional and livable skills, communication skills and behavior skills for the child. So if you come and talk to us, I think there is a significant opportunity for you to gain and get a 10 times return in next couple of years and move on.
Fantastic. Thank you, Manu. I was actually going to say, one of my follow-up questions, if any of you didn't touch it, was what kind of a return can the investor look for? But you did touch on that. So thank you, Manu. You've set the bar here for everybody else. So Jay, how about you, sir?
Sure, Hardeep. So I'll follow the same format Manu used. Start with the problem statement and also followed by what solution we're building, and then I'll ask what we require, right? So we believe that the communication barrier alone impacts around 18 million hearing impaired people in India on a daily basis. They're facing a lot of challenges. We've discussed about a few of them. But starting with the communication with their own family members, right? That's not possible for them. Not getting education in sign language. That's a great disadvantage, because a lot of people, almost 95% of the students drop off because they can't cope up because the schools are not teaching in sign language, right? And they drop off in 6th or 7th grade. Without education, they can't get job opportunities. Even if they get job opportunities, it will be like a daily work, right? So that's really difficult. And also, they can't even go to a hospital or a bank on their own. They have to depend on an interpreter or maybe one of their family members to come along and stuff like that. All these results in they're getting socially isolated and, of course, discriminated as well, right? So there are a few solutions, as I mentioned earlier, audio transcription-based solutions, may be useful in other countries like US and UK, etc. But in the Indian context, where around 95% of the deaf community sort of understand only sign language, they're not fluent with any other languages, it becomes a real challenge for them to get educated, communicate with others, and so on. So that's why we built our solution. It's called Let's Talk Sign, that will enable them to use their own mother tongue, which is sign language. Let's Talk Sign can interpret sign language to text and speech, and also can interpret text and speech to sign language, thereby enabling two-way communication. Now, I'm only talking about communication, you may think, but there are multiple uses of the solution. There are quite a few variants that we are planning in the pipeline. So one of the variants of obviously is a mobile app that goes on a mobile or a PC or a kiosk, and that enables us to communicate with the deaf, speech, and hearing impaired people. But also it can be used in schools inside the classroom for teaching in sign language. So how we are envisaging this is basically inside a classroom, the teacher is teaching, we have the system installed on a nearby monitor, and the system picks up the whatever teacher is teaching and then displays it on the screen using the 3D avatar that we have in our application. So the deaf students attending the class can understand, look at the monitor and understand what the teacher is teaching in sign language, right? So that's a great improvement for them, and they can definitely follow the lessons and the chapters that the teacher is teaching. Right, so that's one of the possibilities that we're thinking through. And also we have another variant lined up, which will enable the school students to interpret their textbooks in sign language, right? So all they have to do is use the app on a mobile and then interpret their textbooks, and it appears on the sign language on their screen, right? And also with respect to businesses, our solution is sort of will enable them to collaborate with their team members on Zoom, WebEx, and Slack, because our solution is compatible with these collaboration tools as well. So overall, I think we believe definitely that Let's Talk Sign will empower deaf, speech, and hearing impaired people to live independently by enabling them to communicate, get educated in sign language, and also access to essential services like healthcare, banking, and legal. And also it will help the businesses to be inclusive by enabling them to recruit deaf, speech, and hearing impaired people, and also give them the opportunity to make them their customers by being inclusive in their advertisements, in their operations, customer support, and stuff like that, right? So I'm going to say we're looking for support from the ecosystem players. So I don't want to focus only on the investors or so. I definitely want to invite the NGOs, skill training organizations, and of course, lastly, the social investors to sort of take a holistic view of what these startups like us, right? The assistive startups in the assistive tech require, and come forward and help us, right? From NGOs, my request is they need to come forward to help startups validate and pilot their solutions and introduce it to the community. Of course, they are doing that. I'm not saying they're not doing right now. But there's been some instances where they've not done due diligence on the solution and the commitment of the entrepreneur or the startup. So they say, hey, this is just another case. These guys are going to run off in a few weeks or so, so let's not support them, right? So let's not do that. This is my humble request to the NGOs. And second, with the skill training organizations, I believe they need to come forward to provide appropriate training to the community for using the assistive tech these startups are developing. As again, a lot of organizations are doing that already, but I think they have to do that due diligence and come forward and help the startups out is what my feeling is. And to the social investors like yourself, Hardeep, you need to come forward to help the early stage startups like mine. Hope you got the hint. Rather than sticking with the well-established and well-funded startups, I think few social investors are sort of laggards, if you can call them as. They don't want to take the risk and invest in the early stage startups for whom the solution is definitely promising as well. I think that's definitely a point I wanted to convey. So thanks for your time.
Thank you. And I should point out that from a Kaleidoscope point of view, we deal with people primarily that are early stage and at seed. So we get a lot of people with literally ideas on a piece of paper. And one thing I was going to say to you, I'll say it now just because you mentioned it, is that I'm going to invite all of you to come and pitch to us at Kaleidoscope. Okay, so you've already got somebody here that's interested in every single one of you. So that's a really good thing. Okay. So
awesome.
Honey,
thanks a lot. Mission
achieved. No, not at all. I was actually going to mention that at the very end. It was meant to be a surprise, Jay. You just ruined it for me, but it's okay. Okay, Honey, how about you, sir?
Yeah. So as we know, there are more than a billion differently able friends across the globe. So we started with a visually impaired community, which is almost 1/4 of the community of which is 253 million as per the WHO. I'm not talking about the millions and billions in this talk, but can we create an ecosystem where we can create a sense of giving, like to uplift near your differently able friends. So if we are living in a society, and of course in one society there is a one differently able, so how we can uplift? So we are trying to that kind of ecosystem. So we alone at Torchwood, we alone at any of other startups across the globe cannot uplift the community without support from the ecosystem, without a support from across globe. So what we are doing is like, it is a very nuts, like very small steps. Like if I talk about, we are a market leader. Actually, we are a market leader in this community. We touched more than 50,000 lives in visually impaired. But if you're talking about the global India market only, there are more than 12 million visually impaired people. And if you're talking to compare to 12 million to 50,000, which is not even a 1%. So my only request from the government is to create a ecosystem where we can collaborate with those and they have the database. So how we can help, if we are working on that mass level, the price of $30 of our device, which comes to $5. So we can uplift a visually impaired person with a $5 if we are talking about that mass. So this is our request from the government. If and from a perspective of an investor, we are growing 15% every month. So within 2 years, you can get a 5-6 times of return. We are a profit-making startup from a day one, and we cannot give you 100x returns, but we ensure you give impact with a good return. So this is my view from assisted startup to the community. Yes, thank you.
Thank you. That's really, really great. And I would also say to investors out there, you know, if you're looking for your 20, 30x returns, that's not impossible. Actually, in the disability community, I've seen even more than that. But that's not the angle they should come from. The angle they should come from is impact first, profit second. So very nice said, Honey. Thank you. Anand, how about you, sir? And by the way, I loved when I saw your chair and the way that it turns. I was one of the reasons I was particularly attracted to that was because of my son. You know, I was imagining in the future if there was some sort of manual hoist that would enable him to then get into a car and sit on your Turn Plus seat. That would be a wonderful thing. So, yeah. So tell us, sir, your final pitch and what you want.
Yeah. So to start with, yes, we are developing such products. What we just mentioned, even to take a hoist and put them on the mechanism as well. So we are not just stopping at Turn Plus. So I will start with Turn Plus. So maybe first I'll make a business case. So we have only if you look at the numbers in India, close to 126 million people who are disabled work, people who are not employed, basically. So we the larger goal is to empower them. So with our first product, we are looking at giving these solutions to the disabled people. We start with the taxi segment. In India today, there's about 2 million taxis, and we are looking at least 2% conversion of that.
Brilliant.
And then we are looking at corporate travel. So this solutions will go for the masses. The other advantage of our product is, as we are selling this product, we are finding more and more use cases of the product. People not only who are disabled, but people who are having medical conditions, back problems, pregnant ladies, knee problems. For them also, it is finding very, very easy, to make small adaptation in their car. So that is another huge market. And the third community is the aging population, who are now getting retired, and then they want to still move around and be on their own. These are the three segments. And with this is, I'm just talking about Turn Plus, and we are complementing this product with several other assistive devices. Our focus is to make all devices portable, ease of use, and scalable. That is our core thing. So each and every product is going to be in that fashion. It will be very easy to adapt. Like even for Turn Plus, the installation time is just 3 hours, and it is done at your doorstep.
Brilliant.
You don't have to send your car anywhere. So every product is going to carry that signature, and then we are looking at least 10 to 12 products. Most of them are being inspired from the feedback what we are getting from our customers, and customers come with the problems, and then we take one use case, make a solution, and generalize them. So this is the scale what we're talking. So from the business aspect, as you said, it is going to give good returns. But also, as you mentioned, the investment here has to be focused as a social impact. Always the focus has to be from the social impact. So this also requires, an ecosystem, what Hani and Jay were mentioning. So it is not only us. So the government bodies, if it has to go to the masses, the government bodies, the corporates have to come together. The health insurance or social security, all these factors have to come and create an ecosystem so people can get into these products. And I'm just still talking only on the urban sector. Now imagine taking this to the rural sector and in a country like India or Africa. So that is still a very, very large area. We still have to touch. So that should be, I think, the goal, from a social impact. How do we make that possible? Take all these technologies, experiment them in the urban side, and take it to the rural. So and there definitely we need the ecosystem. The governments, the corporates, everyone has to come together.
Okay, brilliant, Anand. Thank you. And finally, Shri Krish, I still have the image of the vehicle that you've got with the wheelchair coming in that you had on your video earlier. So tell us your final pitch and what you feel you need support-wise.
All right, fine. So let me get started with this. So it's not that we are pretty much self-funded. We've got some level of grants, but given that it is a very when we first started, it was a very asset-heavy company. Much of the funds went into buying of vehicles and so on, which is very, very expensive. Now, when I approached a lot of investors, the constant feedback that I got is something that is echoed by all the other four of them, is that disability as a sector is looked down as a charity. We don't really look at getting any returns from you guys. Essentially, that's what it is. But the point that I would like to make is this. We've been in operation for 6 years. We are a profitable company. We have been growing at a very minimum of 50% per year until, of course, COVID hit, and COVID hit everybody, not just us, right? So it is something we've been growing, and to the credit of the investors, they've also made us think quite a bit to adapt, to rethink our solution. So one of the things that was pointed out to us was the viability of a service that we were operating, which is very, very expensive, and most of the people could not afford it. It's not that we wouldn't have found it out by ourselves, but it's a very valid question that was posted by the investors saying, you're only servicing a very, very small segment of the market, and so your trips are going to be that much lesser. How do where is the scale path that I'm looking at? So that made us think quite a bit. So we had to go back and see, what is it that we can do to increase the number of rides. So we went from a pure B2C to B2B as well. And subsequently, we also thought about serving the larger community, and therefore indirectly the scale aspect as well. Because right now, there are about, if you're talking about three-wheeler electric vehicles, there are about 2.3 million vehicles that are running in India now, and that's nothing. It's just for a country of this size, it is absolutely nothing. And if you look at accessible vehicles, there are not more than 100 across India. That's about it. We run about 7, Uber runs about 15 in Bangalore, and then there are a few here and there in Delhi and not Delhi, Bombay, and a couple in Goa, and so on and so forth, right? So we are basically underserving this whole market, and there is massive need for addressing this particular gap. And what I would urge companies is to look at us as a partner, and let's take this forward together and make those millions more people be able to travel with dignity, with safety, and at a cost point which is significantly lower, which is just perfect for a country like India, right? Now, suddenly, right now, if you look at accessible rides, you can say that, the per kilometer rate is anywhere between 40 rupees to 100 rupees per kilometer. Now, the solution that we are putting in the market will bring it down to, close to around 5 rupees per kilometer, right? Because the cost of vehicle is so low and the cost of operation is so low. So this just opens up the market like crazy. The other aspect is, when you look at the viability part of it, one of the challenges that we've had is heavy investment. So when we are doing these large vehicles like a Tata Winger and so on and so forth, the cost of buying a vehicle and modifying it and operating it is significantly higher than what we have designed now, right? So in today's world, in the typical kickstart vehicle, it's about 14 lakhs. Whereas the new vehicle will cost you under 3 lakhs, including a set of lithium-ion batteries. And the cost of operation is anywhere around 8 rupees for a large Tata Winger, whereas in the new vehicle that we've designed, it's about 40 paisa per kilometer, right? So it's like massive difference that we're going to make. And on top of all of that, anybody who invests in these vehicles will get seriously good return. So if you're talking about an auto rickshaw driver that's going to apply this vehicle, he will make significant returns, and he doesn't have to compromise just because it is a special accessible vehicle. It can be operated when a wheelchair person needs to be traveling, or when a wheelchair person is not going to be traveling, there can be additional seats. You can just unfold the seats and then operate for like an able-bodied people. So there is no compromise on seating capacity. So it's like, it works well for the driver, it works well for the wheelchair passenger. So that's what, these VCs have pushed us to think about. Find a solution that will make it, that you can make work for everybody, not just specific to one, set of people with this very, very small use case. So that has made us think, so we're thankful to that. But now that we have made this adapted to this change, we would like you to trust us and invest in us as well. So that's a picture that I will make.
Fantastic. Thank you, Shrikresh. Well, guys, I think that was a brilliant final pitch to what I hope has been quite an inspiring session. I think there have been some really good points that you've all raised. I'd like to personally thank you for being so honest and for sharing in the level of detail you did. I think, I always feel it's important for people to understand the individuals, the entrepreneurs behind a business, right? I think that's really important. And I think for those that have listened, they would have felt and touched each of you today. So thank you very much for sharing. And it just, all that's left for me to do is wrap up now and say that there is, I understand, an award that's coming through for each of you. So if I hand over to Bharija, or anyone that's going to hand over those awards now. Yes, we're presenting the awards now. And this one is for Sri Krishan, and one for you, Honey, and one for you, Jay. We've got these lovely awards trophies that are on the screen now, with a photo of each of you on them as well. One for you, Anand.
Thank you.
And one for you, Manu, as well, with your photo on it. So many congratulations to all of you for what you've achieved. And I think one of the things I'd like to say in closing is that I'd love for the Indian government to actually give us a meeting. Let's ask for a meeting with Bharija and all of you and us. Let's get us at the table and let's start making a difference in this world so that we can really live and create the impact that everybody has spoken about this morning. Okay, so to all the listeners, thank you very much. I sincerely hope you found this session useful and that it helps you to start your own businesses. Don't walk away from it. It's a fantastic opportunity. Thank you all again.
Thank you, Hardeep. Thank you. Varija and the whole, Varija Life team for giving us the opportunity. We truly appreciate it. And I do concur with you, Hardeep, that definitely a meeting with the government would be supremely helpful. Thank you so much.